Hello and welcome to another episode of FinTech Focus TV with me, Toby Babb. And it is my great pleasure to introduce you all to Tom Dolan from 28Stone Consulting. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing well, Toby. How are you doing?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Very good indeed. So look, we've just been talking a little bit about the business. Yeah, I'm particularly excited to have you on because I've heard great feedback from some of the judges who looked at your application for the Financial Technologist, which is a magazine that we power over here at Harrington Star, Financial Technologist magazine, where 28Stone were named the best workplace for technologists, as well as being shortlisted for a couple of other gongs in that particular award. So congratulations on that, first and foremost. I'm a big believer in great workplaces, and I want to come and unpack that in a little bit later on. We had a great conversation just now about AI and you know, the sort of man versus machine debate, and you know, are our jobs being taken? I love your idea of you know, right people, right location, right role. This is all stuff that's very much in my sort of sweet spot and wheelhouse about what I love talking about. So I'm looking forward to this. I told you no pressure beforehand, but I'm loading the pressure on you already, Tom, with regards to what this is all about. But look, first and foremost, I'd love it if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your journey, and also the story behind 28Stone Consulting and what you guys are getting up to. And I've heard this before and it's gone off the top of my head. A couple of years ago I first heard this, but why 28Stone Consulting as a name as well?
It's heavy. I appreciate that, Toby. Yeah, so again, my name's Tom Dolan. I'm one of the two co-founders of 28Stone along with my partner, Frank Erickson. I've personally been first a management consultant and then a technology consultant to the financial services industry for about nearly 25 years now. And a little bit on 28Stone before we actually get into the origin of the name. We're a custom software delivery shop focused exclusively on financial services. Our origin, again, not the name, but the sort of the ethos of 28Stone has its origin in a few different firms that both myself and my partner worked at prior to starting 28Stone. One of those firms was a great firm, very high quality, very high touch, high cost, all onshore firm that we worked at, right around the 2005 timeframe. And, you know, there we learned the importance sort of at that type of firm of the, you know, client is king and making sure that we get in front of clients and making sure that they feel the relationship of a vendor. And then, you know, that made a lot of sense to us. And then actually that firm was actually purchased by a large big box sort of consulting firm. So we got to see the other side of that coin really fairly quickly. Nothing against the firm. They have a great business, but you know, sometimes those big firms, you know, they're looking to scale the businesses. They're looking to send them to lower cost locations. And sometimes in our opinion, at the sacrifice of quality. So when we decided to start 28Stone, we looked upon those two really great firms and wanted to take the best of both worlds, marry what we found great at both of those firms. And that became the charter of 28Stone. Really, you know, one of the mottos we use all the time at 28Stone is that high quality software does not need to be cost prohibitive. And if you can craft the right project teams with the right people, technologists and subject matter experts in the right roles from the right locations, not just from the lowest cost locations, you can still achieve the very, very highest quality output at really, really competitive rates. So I guess, you know, in a single word, what we really strive to deliver to our clients is value above all else. And so that's sort of where we got to a basis of 28Stone.
And tell me the sweet spot that you're in within that. Who are you helping and what sort of solutions are you providing to it?
Yeah, so if we have a sweet spot, again, we're pretty broad across the financial services industry. If we have a sweet spot, it's no doubt within capital markets. If we have a niche within there, even further, it's in the OTC fixed income derivative space, and a lot of the stuff we do in the interdealer space, which is really where we got our start, but even in the electronic market space, building tools that help automate trading workflows, no doubt, but also we like to think of ourselves as specialists in building complementary technology for the human beings that still exist within these trade workflows, specifically in the OTC markets like brokers, so on and so forth. That's really, I guess that's what our sweet spot is.
And we hinted about it earlier on. Tell me a little bit about the origin of the name.
Yeah. So, naming a consulting company is difficult work.
Naming any company is difficult work, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell
Yeah.
you, I always say it's
Yeah.
one of the hardest things I've ever done with the company was actually getting the name right.
Yeah. We probably should have done something a little more straightforward, but at
Not at
some point
all. It stands
we
out.
thought at some point we said, you know what, we wanted something interesting. We thought a number made sense. We put a little bit of something heavy in there, and we did a quick calculation back of the napkin to see. At the time, a lot of our initial clients were working out of the UK, and we said, I wonder what our weight would be if we did a quick guess at our weights and put them into British stone, and it came out to a pretty even number, exactly 28. It turns out, I think it was a little bit of an ambitious goal. So we call it more of a goal weight now than anything else. A lot of times our clients look at us and they say, nah, no, mate. I think you're further up above 30 at this point.
You can always rebrand, huh?
Yeah. We should track it yearly, maybe.
Or just go for it individually. Then you can there's a target for
at
you.
some point, that's it. Yeah.
Bring it back to the point a little bit. We were talking beforehand, and I love that sort of catchphrase you use with me, which is "Don't forget the human." We're in a time now where the markets are at this sort of very, very interesting sort of phase where AI is moving at a tremendous rate. Technology is moving at a tremendous rate. We're seeing digital assets come in there and offer this next electronification of the market from when trading effectively went electronic to where I think it's got this next sort of great opportunity out there in the space at the moment. And the individual, the human, I think is somewhere down the line for that in many people's thought process as what that can be. As someone who's made a career for the last 25 years out of human beings, for want of a better expression, I'm a big believer in the individual. And I think the importance of the individual is something that's very close to your heart as well. So tell me a little bit about what you think there and how 28Stone look at that sort of, or the view of 28Stone on that sort of subject.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if you look across the industry, starting at that level, we say this a lot to some of our clients, especially in downturns of technology spend and stuff like that, where projects maybe aren't going full, project budgets aren't there full out, and they go on hold a little bit. But it seems like maybe 10 years, 15 years ago, if a project went on hold to support a business, it might go away. A lot more projects, again, 10, 15 years ago, seemed a bit more discretionary to us. The business was the business. Technology was going to come in and hopefully help the business, but the business was the people doing the business. We don't really see that anymore. I think as the industry has evolved, the business is technology, and technology really is the business. We don't necessarily see discretionary projects in the industry at all anymore. A lot of the times it's, these things might pause for a while, but it just builds the backlog up at our clients, and we eventually see this stuff all come out. And that's fantastic. It shows that, people really recognize the value of the kinds of stuff that 28Stone can provide to the industry. But at the same time, that's putting technology at the same level of the individuals who are running the business can as you say, can maybe push the human being down the ladder a bit. And even internally at 28Stone, one of the things we see across the development and technology provider world is this inflection point where, especially due to a lot of different technologies, but specifically around AI, there's almost a questioning or a spotlight on the value of the developer. How much do we need human developers? How much do we need expensive senior developers? Why can't I just get a ChatGPT to write my code for me? To us, that's anathema really to our core ethos. We're obviously big advocates and proponents of technologies, but we see them much more as tools to help the technologist do better than actually any type of replacement. A lot of times we compare it to maybe the accounting field when Excel became ubiquitous everywhere. Maybe people at the time said, hey, we're not going to need accountants anymore because look, Excel is here. That's obviously not the case. But I would imagine that what Excel has done and other technologies like it has made accountants all that much more powerful and capable in what they're able to produce.
Yeah.
And absolutely, yeah, it's really reduced all of that. Yeah, accurate's a good point, Toby. Really get rid of all of that finger error that I may have been doing on a calculator or with my pen and my eraser, and really help get all of that out of the way, make things a little bit more accurate, more clean to start, and then everybody becomes more effective and efficient.
I think that efficiency is a massive drive at the moment, and I absolutely agree with you. Look, I've been at events, I've spoken to people, I've seen demos where code is instantaneously developed, and you can say, imagine the cost saving of taking out all of the developers who can do that sort of thing. I think it misses the fundamental part of the skill and the craft behind that sort of piece. And to me, great software engineers and great coders are people there who also are listening and able to translate. And actually, I think that's been part of the whole process, where you see a consultant or you see a business analyst or a project manager become so much more technical. Even salespeople within this sector, everyone's become more technical because they're speaking to more technical people. So you look at fintech salespeople in the capital market spaces, for example. 15, 20 years ago when I was speaking to them, they were people there who would have a pre-sales person right next to them who would be able to do all the bits which embarrassed them when they had the inch deep piece absolutely obliterated. Nowadays, you're talking to people who absolutely understand it and have to speak credibly to people who they're talking to on the other side, who expect them to be that much more knowledgeable. And I think the bit there with saying ChatGPT can become my coder misses the whole process of saying, what can we actually do to solve the problem and create this sort of play. So I really love the fact that you've spoken about that this is, to me, going back to your accountancy thing, look at recruiters has gone through loads of different things. First of all, it was print advertising becoming job boards. Then it was job boards becoming LinkedIn. All of them were about the eradication of the industry. All of them got morphed into making people more efficient, better, quicker, and provide a better service. And that, to me, is exactly what's happening in this marketplace at the moment within capital markets. And those who are looking at that and able to bring in the best individuals are able to do that, which comes into the next part of what you're talking about, which is right person, right role, right location. Many years ago, a friend of mine was talking to me, and he's a CRO of a relatively successful, a massive international, should I say, business. And he was talking about a bit of advice that someone came into him, a sort of guru came into his business and talked to him about it. And he said, I asked him what the one bit of advice he got from that was, which is right person, your best person in your best territory. And it made me think a lot about, the infrastructure of my team and where people in the best seats and you're putting people into the best of it. Sometimes I think you take your best person to fix your problem area. That's a sort of common trait where actually your best person can be driving your best area and taking that further forward. But your ethos of right person, right role, right location, I think is a really, really interesting trait that not a lot of people think about all the time, and they don't necessarily look at when they're planning their businesses and their people and getting the best out of every individual. When we talked about efficiency beforehand, the best out of every individual to me is about productivity. And those are two things. If you get your productivity right and your efficiency right, then you can explode your production all the way through it. So tell me how that sort of fits into your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the first questions we hear from potential clients when they first meet us and they want to know a little bit about us is they say, well, are you guys onshore? Are you guys offshore? And we've come up with this term a few years ago. We're not either onshore or offshore. We offer what we call our right shoring model. Especially, I would say this goes back to many years, but especially right now, the location of the individual is growing less and less important. We saw this over COVID, where people were forced out of the offices and into their homes. These are folks who a lot of potential clients said, "Oh, I can't build software without anybody being in the room." During that period, they were forced to. And there's a lot that goes into that. It's not an easy thing. There's a lot of process and discipline that we at 28Stone think we do well and that we've been doing a while. That was, again, a little bit unnerving for folks who hadn't really done it before in the industry to pick up during COVID. But what we see is that, like I said in that little intro, when you're putting a team together, it's not really about, hey, how many people can I squeeze into a room? Because if that's the only reason they're sharing information and adequately sharing information because they're sitting next to each other, then you've got an issue with your process. At the same time, it's not also about how many faceless, low-cost heads can I throw at this problem, because the quality issues you're going to see from that type of model are going to just cause you to have to scrap everything, start again, end up spending 2x on the problem. So right from the start, when we work, we like to work with our clients to really understand the problem space. We bring subject matter experts from, as often as possible, co-located with the client, sit down in their offices, look them in the eye, learn their names, and speak specifically about their problem. And that person doesn't go away. It's not like they talk about the issue at the start of a project and then vanish into the air. That person stays enlisted on that project and intimately involved with the project through its entire delivery. But at the same time, we recognize that again, not everyone needs to be in the same room with this individual, and we can take advantage of cost efficiencies of some really high quality software developers all over the world. Our primary delivery center is in Riga, Latvia. We've got a number of delivery centers actually in Eastern Europe, and we've just opened up a new center in Portugal, so a little bit to the west of Europe. And one of the cool things we do, this is a little idealistic, it doesn't always work on every project, but it's something we strive for, is this follow the sun model, where, if you think about it, there's heads down work, overlap time, and then more heads down work. It's almost a butterfly model, if you will, where a lot of the times, what we'll do in the States is work with our clients to make sure that whether it's requirements or whether or not the next big feature of an application is fully known and well understood, and then we'll make sure that that's all set for the developers when they come in the morning. When they come in the morning in their locations and we're still all fast asleep, they pick that up, they start doing what they can do. They might have questions, and they can save those questions for the overlap, which is when we have our stand-ups and all the rest of that stuff. And then from that point, anything that comes out of that, we might take and they go back away, and then we continue it. So this sort of follow the sun model, when it works well, can actually lead to a longer day, even more productivity, and more hours actually focused on a work day. And again, it doesn't work on every project, but it's something we strive for whenever we're putting our teams together.
I love that. And with regards to your thought process behind that sort of thing, like it's having a dispersed team and building those sort of cultures for people is not an easy thing to manage when you've got different people in different parts of it. How many people are you across the organization now?
We're just over 200 people globally now.
So 200 people globally. So we're not talking about a tiny operation there in terms of where you're going, and having that sort of management to make sure that's all there in a I guess a multi-site operation. How do you work it to make sure that you are creating that great workplace? I want to focus on this because like I said, I've spoken to two judges from two serious companies who came back to me and gave me really strong feedback on the application that you put into the Top 1% Workplace Awards. You guys are doing some fantastic stuff. Tell me how you make it such a great workplace for technologists to work for 28Stone.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things we've done, and one of the things we've really challenged ourselves as a management team to do at 28Stone as we've grown, is to never lose sight as to why people want to work at 28Stone. I think if you think about when we first started our company, the first 2 or 3 hires, we literally would go and sit down with them and maybe beg them to come work for a little startup of 2 people. And they had lots of questions, exactly like you asked. Why should I join you? What is it? And we would tell them it's exciting. It's all this stuff. I think when you're starting a company like ours, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out why individuals want to work for you. And maybe it's just natural that goes away as you start to scale and you say, hey, listen, we're big enough now. We've got a lot of projects going on. We're a force in this industry, in this location. That's why you should work for us. But we've really challenged ourselves over our history to not fall into that. We really strive to ensure we can answer the question of what makes our offering, not just to our clients, which we spend a lot of time on, but to our individual resources, interesting. And a lot of it is ensuring that there are interesting things that those individuals can work on. But as you know, in our industry, sometimes that's not always the case. And you do get into projects where you have to do certain things that aren't the most engaging for a little bit of time. Other than trying to ensure that people are on projects that they really want to be on, we also really look to foster communication between our staff and the higher ups to ensure that if you're on something maybe for a long time and say, listen, I don't think I can get much more out of this, we actually keep track of that and say, okay, the value of this individual in this role, it's still making money for us, sure, but the overall value is going down because the individual is not getting what they want out of it. And so we look to maybe put them on something else and roll them around. It's one of the reasons I think that our attrition rate at 28Stone has been so low. I think we're around 5% or less. And for a firm especially a firm with an offshore component, that's pretty amazing. That's something we're really proud of. At the same time,
that's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, we've, again, back to the communication, we foster this relationship with our staff, hopefully, where they can just raise to us and say, hey, listen, I'm interested in learning AI. There's a lot of talk about AI in the industry, or last year it was crypto and blockchain, but we're not seeing a lot of projects there. And we say, yeah, it's true. In the institutional trading space, sometimes things take a little while to mature. But they say, hey, is there anything I can do? Because I'm really interested in learning about this. And so within 28Stone, we have something called our Lethos Labs, which is it's where we assign people when they're between projects that can come in, and there's a number of things they can do in that lab. They can upskill on things. They can learn things that might be interested to them. Shoot to get a certification out of that, or they can join an internal project team where we might be building a demo or something or a POC using these tools and these new skills. And so that's a way for them to learn it in the field, even if it's just an internal demo or a POC. And people love that. A lot of times a client will come down and will say, okay, it's time for you to leave the lab now and start working here. And they say, oh man, I'm really enjoying this project. Don't worry, it'll be there. It just, yeah.
Get some work done.
Yeah.
I love. I'm listening as you're talking through this, and I'm kind of putting myself in the position of an engineer who's looking for that sort of role, and a technologist. And I think quite often people look at things in different sort of viewpoints as to what creates a great workplace culture. And it's something which I've read loads of stuff on. I've met some cool companies. I've had hundreds of conversations, thousands of conversations over the years with people who try and get that piece right. And when we're talking about an industry, and particularly in the States, where the average tenure of a software engineer is 18 months now, for you to have got a 5% attrition rate in that business is spectacular. And what I'm not hearing from you, which I love, and this talks about the actual evolution of all the interviews we did across last year's Top 1% Workplace Awards, is when we were looking at the companies within that, there was an evolution of thought around what made a great culture. So a lot of it was about, look, we do these great offsites, we've got flexible working, we've got beanbags, and all the sort of cliches about table tennis and everything else you get into, everything in between. I think the evolution of it this year was people actually thinking about, right, how do we make this a great profession for people to work in, and how do we help them achieve their goals? And when I talk to technologists, they're looking to do cool stuff fundamentally, right? And that's why they move. They move when they aren't fulfilled and they can't get that sort of access to better people and better talent around it. They move when they don't feel they're learning and they haven't got people around them and they can do that. So I'm a big believer in talent density and bringing in great people there who allow them to look left and right and say, I'm in and amongst the best in the industry at the moment. I'm learning things and moving further forward. Right. And if I look through all of the conversations that I had, and we interviewed loads and loads of people, loads of leaders from loads of different businesses over the course of the whole process. The ones who I were talking to put a big emphasis on the power of communication and listening. And when I say communication, it's not just having these great Churchillian speeches and inspiring the troops and rousing people to say, yeah, we're in the best possible space, and almost brainwashing people to a culture. It was saying, let's listen to our people, let's hear what they want, and let's provide solutions to it. So that lab piece that you're talking about there, and giving people the opportunity to upskill and giving people access to the right sort of projects and telling them about what the market's doing, but still giving them opportunities to do that, I think is absolutely exceptional.
It's absolutely critical. I think one of the things we hear about, and I guess every industry, every company would hear about this, but specifically in the consulting industry, where, let's face it, as a staff, as a developer in a firm like ours, you may not know exactly what kind of stuff you're going to be working on, what client you're going to be working with 6 months from now, a year from now. So one of the things when we were having these listening sessions with our employees was hearing them say, I find it very difficult to plan my own career because of that. I can't say, great, I'm very happy because I have a job working with this technology and I'm going to do this for the next 2 years and I'll become an expert on it. You don't know exactly sometimes what type of work you're going to be doing. And so one of the things we did there, actually in our lab, was we were going through the process of rethinking our employee review process in general. And we know the stuff you buy off the shelf has a tendency to be, let's face it, it is an employee performance review suite of tools. It's critical. You need to understand how your employees are performing and rank them versus each other and all the rest of it, no doubt. But one of the things that those tools I don't believe did well enough was present a face to the employee and not just say, here's what your management thinks of you, but allow them to really craft the progress of their career. So again, we used our internal lab resources as a technology firm to start building something from scratch, something that, yes, absolutely allowed management to evaluate our people, because that's critical. But the real core of the application became helping employees track their careers, advance their careers, give input to the leaders of the firm, so that you understand all along the way what they're interested in, what they're looking to do. And it's still a work in progress. It's a difficult thing to break out of. People look at it and go, oh, it's just a review platform. But the individuals who have looked deeper into it at our firm, I think, do appreciate that. It's just an example, I think, of 28Stone, how we do look at our people as, well, let's face it, they are our only asset as a delivery firm.
Do you know what? I absolutely agree with you, and it's so uncommon to hear. Actually, as bizarre as and obvious as that is, to have someone say, "Look, people are our only asset." I think people first businesses are winning at the moment. Full stop. People who recognise that whether people are your only asset. That product companies, you still have that product which can push people forward, etc., etc. But realistically, no matter how great your product is, if you haven't got the right people behind it, that product's going to fall over, or not get sold, or not work, or be buggy, etc., etc. And whether it is as a consulting firm that people are your only asset and it has to be right, or whether you're a business there with a product and you push down the significance of people, it's those businesses, I think, that understand that and really push to create great environments for people, and set them up to succeed in their career. One of my favorite conversations I've had in the last 3 or 4 years is with a business there that's gone on a fantastic tear over the last couple of years. It's about to get Series B. It's going to go up to, it's going to be a phenomenal business. The thing they've got right is they're looking at it and saying, look, we want to create an opportunity for you that if in 18 months' time, 2 years' time, you're in this business and you say, I'm looking to leave the company, you're going to be in a better place because of it, because of the training and development we're going to do. And why do we do that? Because actually we think that because if you're in that situation, you wouldn't be looking elsewhere anyway. And that's, that they're putting all that time and investment into that skill set to say, look, you're getting better and better and you're moving yourself further up. But they also recognize that, this isn't the years of carriage clocks, et cetera, and 25 years service for the people get. This is a time here where we are looking at people and trying to create the best possible environment to get the most out of them over that sort of period. And I love the way that you've positioned that and done it with the business. So you've been on this wonderful journey so far and created a great business that's doing some amazing things. That's sort of 200 people across the globe moving in the right sort of section. Tell me a little bit about what's next for you. What does 2024 look like? What does it look like for the business? What are some of the priorities? And where do you go beyond that? What's the vision? Where does it stop? Does it stop?
Well, let's hope it doesn't. I think 2023 in general across the industry, for macroeconomic reasons and geopolitical reasons and all sorts of things, was
one more file away, won't we?
was one of the more cautious years we've seen from clients in the past. But as to my point earlier, the indispensability of technology in business today, and then the one and the same aspect of it. What we're hearing now that we've seen this almost psychological effect of the calendar switching to 2024 is, as we check in with our clients, a lot of folks are saying, okay, now we're ready to go. We put it on pause last year. We looked around, we put some yellow lights up, but now it's green light time, and we're ready to go. And historically, that's been the pattern for not just 28Stone. I think other firms like us over the years. Sometimes when there's caution, or like for example, a COVID just dead stops for a period of time, there tends to be, I'll be optimistic and say, an explosion of returning work, or at the very least, something above normal that comes out the other side of it. So just a reverting to the mean, if you will. And so we're starting to see that even throughout January, we're starting to see that pick up speed. We're spending a lot of more time at 28Stone looking to, now that we've been around, 12, almost 13 years now, we're trying to ensure that we're using all the great information and experience and expertise we've built up over time, and making it more accessible to ourselves, to our sales team, to folks who, when we go to conferences and we talk about stuff, that we actually can leverage some of the real experiences that we've had. We've recently assigned what we're calling our industry segment leads in the firm, specific high focus on buy side, on sell side, and on marketplaces. And those marketplaces really, as I may have mentioned earlier, have been a niche for us from the beginning. And so just so that we can get even more expert in those areas, our messaging can be a little less generic when going outside, and can be more specific and tailored to those individual communities. And yeah, I think the response has been great. I don't see financial technology demand going away anytime soon, and it's an exciting time. Yes, we look forward to it, 2024 and beyond. No stop.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. I think it mirrors the sort of rhetoric we talk about. Look, similar to you, we are people led. our product is people as much as anything else as well. And I think we've seen exactly the same sort of thing in the early part of 2024. I see that continuing as a trend. I think if you look at various markets and you see the sort of curve of where things are at, pent up aggression's there. Both you and I have probably been in the industry a similar sort of stretch of time, and we've gone through various things from dot-com bubbles to credit crunches to to COVID pandemics to all of the volatility of last year. And when we're talking about 2 election years, both in the UK and in the US, and everything that needs to go into that to boost economic confidence, and I think just the actual spirit, the PLCs of both countries that we're talking about here have been extraordinarily robust at driving themselves out of this sort of equation. So I come into this year, we're filming at the very start of February. This will probably come out in March time. And so both of us could be proved completely wrong. But I want to put my neck on the line here and echo you that I think it's a really exciting time. And I'm delighted to hear that you're thinking the same thing and looking optimistically for the company.
Yeah.
Tom, tell me a little bit about who should be reaching out to. Who can you help? Where can they reach out to you? And what can you do? What can you do for them at the moment?
Yeah. This again, our best clients are clients that aren't just looking to write a spec together and throw it over the wall and say, hey, do what you can. We want clients who are looking for a differentiated service. A firm like ours likes to come in, understand the business problem first. One of the key things that we go to market with is that the first thing we ever do is listen. We don't come in talking, we come in listening. We hear a business problem, and then we work, and this is a big word, we like to collaborate on the solution. Sometimes our clients get a little antsy on that because they say, well, I know what I want. And we say, great, I'm glad that you enter into the conversations knowing what you want. Let's collaborate on it. And the best of times is when we work together and suddenly we all realize we're all bringing something to the table and the end solution becomes even better. So I would just say any firm out there across the financial services industry interested in bringing in a partner who knows the space, has been delivering successfully, again, buy side, sell side marketplaces for almost 13 years now, just give us a call. We're more than happy to come in. Again, even if it's just to talk, advise a little bit upfront, do some whiteboard sessions, and explain how we at 28Stone would bring our delivery model to bear for their problem space.
Love the sound of that. Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Congratulations again on the award, the recognition. And look, I wish you guys the very best of luck. Let's keep our fingers crossed for a great 2024. Huh?
Absolutely.
Great having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
You too. And thank you all for watching. We will see you soon on the next episode of FinTech Focus TV.